Hey everybody, welcome back. You are looking at the Rowsfire A107, which is the overhead panel for the A319, 320, 321. They're having some really great Black Friday deals, and I wanted to share this with you guys. You can use this with the Phoenix, the Innie builds, and the fly-by-wire. Really convenient. The size is perfect. It's not too big. It's not too small. Obviously, if you move the switches on the device, it's going to move the switches in the sim and the buttons and that sort of thing. Pretty self-explanatory. And the other thing that I have is the A105, which is the NavCom audio panel. Now, my favorite little feature on this is the proximity warning switch, the system switch, because that's really hard to get to when you're getting ready for departure. Makes it really convenient. So I wanted to share these with you guys and show you why I like them and what phases of flight I think they're really helpful. So let's have a look. So yes, I did record the initial part of this video on my phone. Sorry about that. It's just the only way I can really do it. If you look, we're here in St. Martin in the Lufthansa A320, which also makes no sense, but that's okay. And if we go inside the plane, one of the things that obviously, look, this is these are two really nice panels, to heart, and they function exactly like you would think they function. They do what you would think they do. Easy to set up. I did have an issue setting up the A105, which is the audio panel and the NavCom panel. But if you have an issue with it, I can post the solution, so it's no problem. You're not going to have any issues with it. I think I goofed it up on the install myself, so it's nobody's fault but my own. In any event, there's a couple really specific things about flying the Airbus that I think these panels help a lot with. When you are getting to, well, first of all, when you're getting ready to get the plane ready for pushback and starting the APU, instead of having to, look up here on the panel, let's say you're head down here in the MCDU, and you're setting up your flight, and you got everything going, setting all that stuff up. I have all these different internal views set up, right? That's my number 1, that's my number 2, that's my number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have those set up exactly the same with every airplane, with every jet. And what that allows me to do is get about the cockpit and do what I need to do quickly and easily. But with these panels, I can do a lot of those things now without having to jump around. So if I need to, I can stay on the MCDU and keep inputting things, keep checking things that I need to check. Or if I need to be looking at the tablet and getting information from there, or loading things, I can do that at the same time as I'm being up here and starting the master switch for the APU. Flipping on the beacon light. I don't have to switch views in the sim to do that, which is really, really nice. That's the first thing I like about it. Obviously, also being able to change frequencies and being able to switch frequencies, being able to set your squawk code without having to come down here and do this. Again, I can be looking at my MCDU or doing whatever I want to. Maybe I'm setting up the getting altitudes and headings set up. Obviously this sort of does some of these things in the Airbus, but getting an initial altitude set up, and you can be doing other things without having to be constantly going like this, just really convenient. And especially if you fly on Vatsim, when you get to the actual flying part of using these devices, that's where they really shine. Because when you pull up to a hold short line and you have to, you've got to turn on the strobe lights, you've got to make sure everything up here is clear. You don't have any lights that you need to be worried about. All this sort of stuff. And then you might get if you're on Vatsim, you might get a handoff from from ground to tower for departure. And then when you're departing, a handoff from tower to departure, these things can be a real pain if you've got to be sitting here doing this, you know, with your mouse, or you know, who hasn't gotten a new squawk code when you check in with a new controller, that sort of thing. And when you're trying to do all these things at once, obviously these are not single pilot aircraft, right? And so being able to do these things with a hardware device is really, really nice. It just makes it a little bit easier, actually quite a bit easier in certain phases of flight, the phases where you're busy, to make sure everything is you know, is set where you need it to be set for whatever you're trying to do. So they're really, really nice. They're metal casings, and like all the buttons match, like, you know, the push in buttons or push in buttons, like for the pumps, you know, for the fuel pumps, like they all physically do the same thing on the actual hardware as they do in the aircraft. So it's really kind of nice. And obviously, like the you know, all the buttons do the same thing. And I mean, you've even got a wiper button over here, which is really, really nice. It's got you know, all the signs and lights and everything else that you need to make flying quite a bit easier. And like I said, they've got Black Friday deals going on for the next couple days, and 15 to 17% off. And there's a link in the description of the video. If you click on that, it'll take you right to their site, and you can have a look. There is some. They have quite a few other devices for the Airbus aircraft, and again, these work on the A319, 320, 321. There is also some really exciting stuff in the very near future coming out from Rowsfire. This is a new company, and I think the devices are tremendous. The other thing I was going to mention that I really like about the overhead panel is that the overhead panel is about, I mean, I got pretty big hands, but it's about the size of my open hand. So it's not huge, but it's definitely big enough. I mean, yeah, I think you saw at the beginning of the video. It's definitely big enough that, you know, you're certainly not going to go, you know, pressing a switch and pressing the wrong one. But it's also small enough that you can put it wherever you want to put it. If you saw, like, I have the NavCom panel on top of my Honeycomb Bravo, which is a really convenient place for me to have it, and it's actually like physically in the same kind of orientation as to where it would be for me in the sim, like or in the aircraft rather. Like, I'm looking, you know, down and to my right, that's where it is, and I'm looking over to my right, and that's where it is in, you know, in my physical realm, so to speak. You know, and just little things on the Airbus too. Like, one of the things that drives me nuts is you know, getting ready for takeoff and coming up and trying to click these stupid buttons, and you miss them, and you turn the runway turn-off lights on, and you turn your taxi lights off, and it's you know, it's pretty inconvenient having to do everything by mouse click. And so this is another way of doing it. And I'm like I said, I'm new to the hardware game, as you saw probably from my from the opening of the video. I don't have a lot of hardware. I have one screen. I've got my Honeycomb Bravo and Alpha, and I've got these two devices and an iPad mini. That's all I have. But I'm sort of space constricted in my office, but these are nice that they fit where they fit. They're easy to position. I can position them in different places if I want to. So it's really convenient. It's really easy to set them up in a way that's going to work for you, depending on what your space is. I know some people have their whole garage, you know, but I certainly don't. So really cool little devices, and I just wanted to share this with you guys. I'm going to definitely do some more videos on using these and show them in flight, you know, in the phases that I talked about, where they're really, really helpful. But I did want to get this out to you guys before the start of or before the Black Friday deal runs out. So thank you to Rowsfire for sending these over for me to check out. They're fantastic. And if you guys have any questions on them, and in particular, if you buy them and you need some help with setup, reach out to me. I've gone through the process. It's really easy. You download MobiFlight, which is a connection utility. It's basically a software that helps you set the devices up. I'll show you here real quick. So this is MobiFlight. These are all the inputs that are available they come pre-set up. You get a link to a Google Drive, and you just have to import the configuration files into MobiFlight. It's very easy to set up. It is also very customizable, but I have done no customization at all. You just open the configuration files that, again, come via a Google Drive, import them, and you're good to go. So I've really found these to make my everyday flying a lot easier. They're really convenient. They're great size no matter what space you have to work with. And again, there's a link in the description to get some nice Black Friday discounts. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, any of that sort of stuff, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comments section below, and we'll talk soon.